Hi besties, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we need to talk about Logan Brown. Yes, Logan, the only person from the Brown family who has managed to stay mostly quiet through all the chaos. Well, that is over because Logan has finally spoken out about Kody and Meri, and what he said has everyone talking. Now, before I get into what Logan actually revealed, I have to talk about something that has been floating around online because it is wild. There is this new so-called insider account on TikTok that has been posting all of these supposed texts between Kody and Logan. And people are believing it, like, full on believing it. Let me tell you right now, none of that is confirmed. None of it is coming from Logan. And honestly, it is just the kind of fake content that keeps confusing everyone. And the thing is, these clips always pop up right before a big episode or when a cast member makes a subtle move online. It is almost like clockwork. Anyway, back to what is real. Because what Logan actually did say, he said it quietly, but the impact, massive. This was the first time in years he commented publicly about his dad and about Meri, and from the tone of his words, you can tell he has been holding this in for a long time. I think the reason this hit fans so hard is because Logan's always been that calm, responsible, keep the peace kind of guy, right? He is the eldest, the one who took on way too much responsibility for a kid growing up in a plural family. And now that he is an adult, married, living his own life far from the cameras, people kind of forgot he has feelings about all this too. But in this new interview, and I'll tell you where and when in a second, he doesn't hold back. You can hear the frustration. You can feel that tension between the love for his parents and the exhaustion from all the public drama. Before we dive into exactly what he said, I want to rewind for a minute because if you don't know Logan's role in all of this, you might not understand why this moment matters so much. When Sister Wives first started, Logan was basically the family's glue. He kept the kids organized, he helped the moms when Kody wasn't around, and he was always this emotional anchor. But as the years went on, he quietly stepped back. No feuds, no meltdowns, just distance. Fans noticed though, and now, after years of silence, Logan's finally saying something. And what is even more interesting, the way he said it, calm, thoughtful, but brutally honest. This might actually be the most balanced take we've heard from anyone in the Brown family in a long time. And we're going to unpack every word because it really gives insight into what has been happening behind closed doors, not just between Kody and Meri, but the ripple effect that hit the kids too. Alright, before we get into exactly what Logan said, I have to address something that has been driving me absolutely crazy lately. There is this wave of so-called Sister Wives update channels popping up, and they're posting these wild fabricated headlines like Logan exposes Kody in secret podcast, or Meri begs Logan to speak out. None of that ever happened. Not one bit. It is frustrating because real fans are getting misled by thumbnails that look super convincing. You know the ones, right? Kody's face red from yelling, Meri crying, the fake TMZ-style headline in all caps, and then you click, and it is some robotic voice reading total fiction. Here is the thing, Logan's actually stayed out of this drama for years on purpose. He is not the type to jump into chaos. So when he does say something, you better believe it is real. But those fake clips, they make it harder for people to know what's genuine, and I get it. The Browns are the kind of family that's easy to make stories about because there's always tension, always someone crying, always Kody trying to defend himself while everyone else looks exhausted. But some of these fake channels take it too far. Like last week, one of them claimed Logan was in serious talks with TLC about a tell-all special. Logan's made it very clear he doesn't want to be part of the show anymore. He values his privacy, and you can tell he's trying to live a completely different kind of life. Quiet, peaceful, drama-free. It's almost funny how the people who are most private in the Brown family end up being the ones everyone makes up the craziest stories about. Because let's be real, Logan's not chasing fame, he's not doing brand deals or podcast tours, he's just living. So when I saw that he finally said something, and on his own terms, not through a leak, not through a rumor, I was like, okay, now this is worth listening to, and the timing of it, interesting. Because Meri's been talking a lot more recently too. She's been more vocal about her experience with Kody, about what she went through emotionally, and even about what healing looks like for her now. So for Logan to finally speak up now, when the conversation around Kody and Meri is heating, Up again, that can't be a coincidence. It almost feels like the family's finally starting to unfreeze. You know, like, after years of walking on eggshells, people are beginning to say the quiet part out loud. Anyway, I had to clear that up because if you've seen any of those fake Logan exposes videos, just forget them. What I'm about to tell you is the real story straight from what Logan said himself. And it's not messy or cruel. It's actually surprisingly measured, but it still hits hard. Alright, so let's get back to the real story. Logan's actual words, not the AI nonsense. The moment all this started was during a quiet appearance at a family event. It wasn't even some big television reunion or podcast interview. It was one of those casual Q&A moments at a local university event where someone asked Logan about family values and how growing up in a plural household shaped his perspective. First off, he kept it light. You know, the usual polite answers about teamwork, shared responsibility, and learning patience. But then someone in the audience asked about his relationship with his dad, and that is where everything shifted. He paused, smiled awkwardly, and said something like, "That is complicated." And you could feel the entire room lean in. He went on to say that he respects both his parents, but that it has been a journey of boundaries, and that he has learned a lot about what not to do from watching certain dynamics play out. That line, "what not to do," is what sent fans into a frenzy. Because it was subtle, but everyone knew who and what he was talking about. Then someone else asked about Meri, and this is where it got even more emotional. Logan didn't dodge it, he said, "Meri's always been kind to me, even when things were really tense. I think a lot of people misunderstand her because they only see what is edited for television. But off camera, she tried to hold things together." That one sentence, "she tried to hold things together," had Reddit melting down. Fans immediately started dissecting it, arguing about whether he was defending her or revealing something deeper. And honestly, from the tone, it sounded like Logan was acknowledging how hard it must have been for Meri. Not excusing everything but recognizing that she was under immense pressure, especially during the years when Kody started pulling away emotionally. It is one of those rare moments where you realize how much the kids were quietly absorbing all of this. They saw the fights, the emotional distance, the favoritism, the breakdowns, everything. And Logan, being the oldest, probably saw more than anyone else. So in just a few sentences, he managed to do what the show never really did. Give a child's honest perspective on what it was like to watch Kody and Meri's marriage unravel from the inside. And what's really fascinating is how calm and thoughtful his tone was. No bitterness, no trash talk, just this quiet, mature honesty. It was almost like he'd made peace with it, but he still wanted people to understand that not everything we saw on television told the full story. You could tell he was being careful, respectful, but real. And that's what made it powerful, because in a family where everyone's constantly defending or deflecting, Logan just dropped the truth without trying to make anyone look bad. He just told it like it was. So, let's unpack that moment a little bit because it was small, but it landed like a punch. When Logan said, "It's been a journey of boundaries," fans immediately knew he wasn't just talking about growing up, he was talking about his dad. Because if there's one thing Kody Brown has always struggled with, it's boundaries. Remember, Kody's whole life has been built around control of time, of emotions, of family schedules, of who gets his attention. And for years, Logan was the one quietly carrying that weight, managing chaos for his siblings, picking up emotional slack, and helping everyone else feel okay when things clearly weren't. So when Logan used that word, boundaries, it wasn't random, it was loaded. That's something adult children say when they've had to separate their identity from their parents' dysfunction. And the calm way he said it, that was the giveaway. You could almost picture it, Logan sitting there, thoughtful, choosing his words carefully, not out of fear, but out of respect for himself. He wasn't angry, he wasn't defensive, just done with the drama, and when he mentioned Meri, oh, that was the part that got people emotional. He opened the door. "All right, besties. Let's really get into what that moment meant. Because this wasn't just a son speaking about his parents. This was an emotional release that had been building for over a decade. Think about it. Logan grew up watching his parents, his moms, his siblings, all of them orbiting around Kody's emotions. If Kody was happy, everybody relaxed. If Kody was angry, everybody walked on eggshells. That kind of environment shapes you. You learn how to manage people, instead of how to express yourself. So when Logan talks about boundaries, he's talking about breaking a generational family pattern. In this culture, men are the authority, and women, and even the kids, are expected to defer. For Logan to grow up and say, "I learned what not to do," that's quietly revolutionary. That's him saying, "I see the damage, and I'm choosing differently." And let's not forget, Logan was the oldest. That comes with a kind of invisible pressure that never goes away. He was helping Janelle when she was exhausted, calming down the younger kids, trying to keep things normal while adults were arguing behind closed doors. He didn't have the luxury of being just a kid. That's why his calm tone now makes sense. He's been trained to keep peace his entire life. But beneath that calmness there is sadness. You can hear it between the words, the disappointment of someone who's finally accepted that his dad isn't the man he hoped he would be. And when he talks about Meri with empathy, that's not random either. That's the part that breaks people's hearts. Because it means, despite everything, Logan saw her humanity. He saw her pain, and he knows she wasn't just the difficult one, like so many fans labeled her. She was a woman trying to hold on to a family that was falling apart around her. You love them both, but you also see the imbalance. You see who is doing the work, and who is just talking about it. That is what made Logan's words hit so deep. He wasn't picking sides, he was acknowledging reality. It is what so many adult children of complicated families eventually do. You reach a point where you stop trying to fix it and just tell the truth, even if it is uncomfortable. That is where Logan is now, and honestly, that is healing. That is growth. Because if you look back at the show, you can see that even when he was a teenager, Logan was already stepping into the role of mediator. He was always mature beyond his years. But this moment, this quiet, grounded statement, it is the first time we've seen him speak as an adult who is no longer in that system, no longer controlled by the family narrative. And that is why fans said they were stunned. Not because he said something shocking, but because he said something real. He reminded everyone that behind the television drama, behind the contracts and the ratings, there is an actual family that is still trying to make sense of years of emotional mess. And Logan, whether he meant to or not, became the one to put words to it. Okay, besties, now we have to talk about the part of this story that is just so brown family drama, it is almost laughable. Because yes, Logan was serious and heartfelt, but Kody, of course, still manages to give us some comedic moments, even in tense situations. So here is the scene that had fans snickering online. During the Q&A, someone asked about Kody's infamous decision, making, the stuff we've all rolled our eyes at for years. Logan paused, smiled politely, and said something like, "Well, Dad's choices are unique." And honestly, that was such a Logan way of putting it. He didn't say bad. He didn't say terrible. He didn't even say, "What were you thinking?" He just called them unique, and fans immediately lost it in the comment section. Reddit threads blew up with Logan just roasted Kody in 3 words and didn't even break a sweat. And it is true. That is classic Logan, subtle, precise, and devastatingly funny if you read between the lines. Then he went on to joke a little about the early days of the show, when Kody tried to orchestrate all the schedules for the wives and kids. Logan said something like, he had a spreadsheet for everything, meals, appointments, even bathroom time sometimes. Can you imagine? A spreadsheet for bathroom time? You could just picture it, the entire family sitting there, trying to follow Kody's master plan. While Logan, of course, was quietly noting all the chaos in his head, and now, years later, he can laugh about it. That dry humor is a release valve for everything he witnessed growing up. Fans are loving this part because it shows another side of Logan. Yes, he is serious and thoughtful, but he is also human. He has got that sarcastic streak that only comes from years of living in a household where patience is tested daily. And let's be honest, Kody's antics almost invite this kind of commentary. Between controlling schedules, dramatic missteps, and over-top decisions on the show, there is plenty of material. Picture him saying, "You've overlooked her for years, and it's finally visible what she's been carrying." I mean, fans would lose it. The internet would explode. Twitter would be flooded with memes, TikTok compilations, and heated debates for weeks. And while we're fantasizing, imagine Logan calling out some of the more ridiculous on-screen moments. The spreadsheets. The rules for everything. The family council theatrics. He could do it in that perfect deadpan tone and somehow, it would be both hilarious and devastatingly true. But here's the beauty of it. Logan doesn't need to do it to command respect. Just knowing that he could is enough to make fans feel like justice is finally being served. It's the power of restraint versus chaos, and Logan is masterful at wielding that. Honestly, imagining this scenario is satisfying for a lot of fans because it represents the kind of accountability that's been missing for years. It's Logan being the voice that calls out the imbalance, the silent observer finally making his perspective known, even if it's just hypothetically on screen. So yes, we can dream about Logan taking charge, dropping truth bombs, and leaving Kody speechless. And honestly, it feels good just to picture it. The moment Logan's words hit the public, social media went wild. On Twitter, people were tweeting things like, "Logan just gave the most mature take on Kody and Meri ever, I'm shook." And finally, the voice of reason we needed in the Browns family. Reddit threads were filled with long comment chains analyzing every single word he said, dissecting the pauses, the tone, the emphasis. What's amazing is that people didn't just focus on Kody or Meri, they also reflected on their own experiences. Many fans shared how Logan's honesty reminded them of their own complicated family dynamics, where they had to navigate relationships carefully, mediate arguments, and learn to protect their own emotional well-being. And here's the emotional kicker. A lot of fans expressed relief that someone from the family actually acknowledged Meri's efforts. For years, Meri has been criticized unfairly, being portrayed as difficult or distant, but Logan's subtle defense of her just reminded everyone that the reality behind the cameras is so much more nuanced. Some comments were hilarious, too. Fans jokingly said, "Logan is like the cool older sibling we all wanted," calmly explaining how everybody's messed up without yelling. Others made memes about his deadpan delivery and sarcastic humor about Kody's choices. What struck me most, though, was the wave of empathy. People weren't just reacting to gossip or drama. They were feeling what Logan felt. The exhaustion, the understanding, the careful observation of a family struggling under a lot of pressure. And honestly, that is part of what makes this moment so powerful. Logan isn't just giving opinions. He is reflecting a perspective that is rare on reality television. He is grown, he is matured, and he is finally speaking as someone who is emotionally independent from the chaos that shaped him. Fans are calling it a turning point, not just for the Browns, but for how audiences see them. Logan's measured honesty gives context to everything we've watched for years. The fights, the silence, the tension, the moments of care that weren't captured on camera. It is almost poetic that the quietest member of the family became the loudest voice in terms of clarity and insight. That is why this clip, this interview, this moment, whatever you want to call it, resonates so deeply. Now, let's get into the juicy observations. The kind of stuff Logan didn't say outright, but everyone reading between the lines could pick up on. First off, let's talk about Kody. Logan did not attack him, but you could tell he pointed out patterns when he mentioned a journey of boundaries or those moments where Meri was holding things together. Fans immediately knew Kody's control has been an ongoing theme. He has been absent emotionally at critical times, been inconsistent in decisions, and yes, even when he tries, he sometimes misses the mark. He grew up in a household where emotions had rules, where conflict was often masked with politeness or avoidance, and where the eldest children were expected to manage the younger ones while the adults were busy managing appearances. That context explains why Logan's perspective carries so much weight. When he speaks about boundaries or about Meri holding things together, he is not just talking about family drama. He is reflecting on years of systemic patterns of control, unspoken rules, and cultural expectations within a polygamous and religious environment that influenced every decision. And it is important to frame this because it dictates his honesty. Logan isn't just critiquing Kody and Meri as people, he is analyzing the environment that shaped them. He sees the emotional labor that Meri went through, the way Kody's authority weighed on everyone, and how those dynamics trickled down to the kids. That is what fans are connecting to because it explains a lot of what we have been watching on television. The arguments, the silent treatment, the emotional tension. It wasn't just random drama. It was the result of a system prioritizing hierarchy and control over open communication. And Logan's take: rarely do you ever see any child from a family like this speak so clearly, with empathy and insight, without taking sides or descending into bitterness. That is why his words resonate. They are based on lived experience, yet thoughtful enough to teach viewers something about family, power, and healing. So when you take that and add in the subtle critiques and measured humor, it becomes clear why this interview struck such a chord. Logan isn't just giving commentary. He is providing a roadmap for understanding a complex, multi-layered family system. Fans have speculated for years about Logan's relationship with Kody and Meri, how he navigated the tension, what he witnessed, and how he processed it all. And while Logan hasn't shared every detail publicly in this interview, he drops subtle hints that make you go, "Oh, now I get it." For example, he talked about a particular Christmas when the family was supposed to be together for a holiday special. He didn't name names, but he mentioned the silent treatment, how certain adults would withdraw from the group, leaving the children to pick up the pieces emotionally. Logan said, "Sometimes you just learn to smile and keep going even when things feel off." That line, classic Logan. Calm, understated, but it speaks volumes about his role as the emotional buffer. And then there's the anecdote about family dinners. According to him, what looked like peaceful, picture-perfect meals on television were actually highly choreographed. Kody would often assign seating and dictate conversation topics, while Meri quietly tried to smooth over tension. Logan didn't complain, but he described it with this wry tone that hinted at the absurdity of it all. He also shared a little story about one sibling fight. Nothing dramatic, just the normal chaos of growing up in a large family. But he framed it as a lesson in diplomacy. It's small moments like that which helped him understand boundaries, empathy, and the importance of observing without necessarily intervening. What's remarkable here is how Logan frames these anecdotes. He doesn't exaggerate, he doesn't villainize anyone, but he lets you read between the lines. Fans could tell he's hinting at Kody's controlling tendencies and Meri's resilience without ever explicitly saying, "Dad is controlling and Mom is underappreciated." That's skillful storytelling, and honestly, that's why this interview resonates so strongly. It's not just about one statement or one scene, it's about decades of context, subtle observations, and moments of emotional intelligence that we, as viewers, rarely get to see. By sharing these tiny, carefully chosen stories, Logan gives fans a real glimpse into what life inside the Brown household was like, and why his measured, calm commentary now carries so much weight. All right, besties, now it's time to lighten things up a little, because even in serious interviews with Logan, there's room for that dry, witty humor that makes the Browns so uniquely entertaining. During the Q&A, Logan made a subtle joke about Kody's infamous scheduling habits. Yes, the spreadsheets, the time slots, the overtop organization. He said something like, "Sometimes I think Dad tried to plan our lives down to the second, even the showers." And you could hear the audience chuckle immediately because we've all imagined it. Fans online lost it. Reddit threads exploded with comments like, "Logan just confirmed what we've been joking about for years and I can't stop laughing. He didn't even have to raise his voice." That's the thing. Logan's humor is understated. He doesn't try to be funny, but his way of pointing out absurdity makes it hilarious. Then he threw in a small jab at reality television itself. He mentioned how certain family moments on camera looked dramatic, but behind the scenes, it was often mundane chaos, spilled drinks, kids running around, and adults trying not to yell. His tone was deadpan, but the delivery made everyone laugh because it's so relatable. And let's not forget Meri. Logan subtly referenced how she tried to keep things together during filming. Fans immediately imagined her rolling her eyes at Kody's antics, while secretly keeping the family functioning. Logan didn't need to dramatize it. The humor was in how obvious it all was. This kind of comedic insight is important because it balances the heavy emotional content we've been talking about. It reminds fans that even in a family with complicated relationships, there's room for laughter, observation, and those little moments of absurdity that make it human. Honestly, that mix of heartfelt honesty and subtle humor is what makes Logan's commentary stand out. It's relatable, real, and funny, all at the same time. And that's why fans are not just stunned, they're entertained. Okay, besties, now let's get into the part that fans love the most, the speculation. Because when Logan finally spoke out, it didn't just give us facts, It gave us so much room for interpretation. Immediately after the interview, social media blew up with theories. People were asking, is this the beginning of a subtle shift in family dynamics? Could Logan be positioning himself differently, maybe even taking more of a leadership role behind the scenes? Or is this just a one-time statement that fans are reading way too much into? Some fans think Logan's measured honesty could signal an upcoming reconciliation or a subtle intervention. You know, not the dramatic kind we see on reality television, but a quiet attempt to balance family relationships in a way that respects everyone's space. Others speculate that this may be Logan quietly setting boundaries for the future, like letting his parents know he won't get pulled into public or private conflicts anymore. Then there's the angle about Meri. Fans are wondering if Logan's support could influence how the public sees her going forward. His subtle acknowledgement of her efforts might help shift the narrative that she's difficult or detached. Maybe fans are finally going to appreciate the emotional labor she's been quietly carrying for years. And of course, there's always the Kody angle. Some viewers speculate that Logan's calm critique, the Journey of Boundaries comment, could actually make Kody more aware of his own patterns. Others think Kody might ignore it entirely because that's, well, Kody. But either way, fans are obsessed with how Kody might react behind the cameras. Honestly, what makes this segment so addictive is that Logan isn't spoon-feeding drama, he is giving subtle truths, and fans are connecting the dots themselves. Every pause, every word, every hint of humor was a potential clue to the Brown family dynamics we hadn't seen unfold on television yet. And of course, speculation brings memes. Oh, the memes. Twitter and TikTok have blown up with fan-made clips imagining Logan confronting Kody or Meri, giving a knowing nod. It is chaotic, hilarious, and emotional all at once. The perfect mix for internet virality. Fans are debating endlessly, but that is exactly what Logan's statement does. Provoke conversation sans confrontation. It is subtle, it is clever, and it is precisely why everyone is still talking about it days later. Alright, besties, we've covered a lot today. Logan's calm honesty, his subtle critiques, the humor, the fan reactions, the speculation. And if you are anything like me, you are probably still processing all of it. Here is the bottom line. Logan finally breaking his silence on Kody and Meri is a big deal. Not because it is explosive drama, not because he is calling anyone out publicly, but because it is real, thoughtful. And from years of experience living in this family dynamic, he gave a perspective we never get: mature, balanced, and surprisingly relatable. He reminded us that there is more going on behind cameras than we ever see. He brought Meri's strength into the light, Kody's patterns into acknowledgement, and shared insight into his growth, all while keeping humor and composure intact. That is why fans were stunned, and that is probably how this moment will go down in history as one of the most revealing interviews the Brown family has given in years. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Logan finally speaking out? Did you pick up on the subtle digs at Kody? Do you think this can change the family dynamic from here on out? Or do you think it is just a one-time statement? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I want to read all of them. If you liked this deep dive, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you don't miss any updates on Sister Wives. There is always more to unpack from this family, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching, besties. I'll catch you guys in the next video. And remember, sometimes the quietest voices are the ones you need to listen to the most. Bye.